My best friend's brother was standing in a gay club at midnight, looking at me like I was the secret he had been trying not to want. For 3 full seconds, I forgot how to move. The music inside Blue Halo shook through the floor, deep bass rolling under my shoes, purple lights cutting across strangers' faces, laughter rising and falling like waves in a storm. I had come here because my roommate said one night out would not ruin my life. One night to stop being careful. One night to stop pretending I was fine with always standing at the edge of everyone else's story. I was Evan Miller, 23, fresh out of college, an Omega who kept his scent tucked under pharmacy suppressants and polite smiles. I was supposed to be invisible. Caleb Brooks was supposed to be impossible. In every memory I had of him, he belonged in bright kitchens and clean white hallways, standing beside his younger brother Ryan with one hand in his pocket and that calm alpha confidence everyone trusted without question. Ryan was my best friend. Caleb was the older brother who picked us up from late basketball games, fixed Ryan's car in the driveway, and wore Navy suits to family dinners like he had been born responsible. He was the man Ryan bragged about, the son Mrs. Brooks pointed to with pride, the kind of alpha people expected to marry well, lead well, and never step outside the perfect lines drawn for him. And now he was here, above the crowd on the second-floor balcony, dressed in black, his collar open, his dark hair falling slightly out of place, his gray eyes locked on mine. He looked less like the Caleb I knew and more like the truth his family had never been allowed to see. My pulse stumbled. The room suddenly felt too warm, too loud, too full. A sharp cloud of cologne drifted past me, mixing with the thick press of alpha pheromones, spilled soda, citrus cleaner, and rain damp on coats. My suppressant patch itched beneath my sleeve. I pressed my wrist against my side, trying to breathe through the tightness in my chest, but the crowd shifted and boxed me in near the bar. A tall alpha with glassy eyes smiled too close and asked if I was alone. I said no, even though I was. My roommate had vanished into the dance floor 10 minutes earlier, and my phone had no signal. I tried to step away, but my back hit the edge of the counter. The alpha did not touch me, but his attention felt heavy enough. Then the air changed. Clean cedarwood. Cold rain. A steady scent cutting through the noise like a door opening in a burning room. Caleb appeared beside me before I saw him move. His voice was low, calm, and absolute. "He's with me." The stranger blinked, glanced at Caleb's face, and immediately backed off with an awkward apology. Caleb did not look at him again. He looked only at me. "Breathe, Evan," he said, like he had known exactly how close I was to falling apart. I hated how quickly my lungs obeyed him. I hated that his presence felt safe. Most of all, I hated the quiet fear in his eyes, because it told me the truth before he said a word. I had caught his secret, but he had caught mine too. Caleb kept one hand near my elbow, not touching unless I swayed, guiding me through the crowd with the quiet certainty of someone used to making rooms rearrange themselves around him. The music followed us up the narrow staircase, softer with every step, but still heavy enough to tremble in the railing beneath my palm. I should have pulled away. I should have said I was fine, called a ride, and walked out before this night became something I could never explain to Ryan. Instead, I let Caleb lead me to a small, empty lounge above the main floor, where the lights were dimmer, the air was cooler, and the noise became a distant pulse behind the walls. He closed the door, but did not lock it. That small choice mattered more than I wanted it to. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Caleb stood with his back to the door, tall and tense, his black shirt open at the throat, his perfect mask cracked in ways I had never seen at the Brooks family dinner table. I sat on the edge of a leather couch, my hands clasped together so tightly my knuckles looked pale. The scent of cedarwood and rain lingered between us, steadying me against my will. "Finally," I said, "Ryan does not know you come here." Caleb's jaw tightened. He looked toward the dark window, where the neon sign outside painted the glass blue. "No," he said. One word, but it landed like a confession. I laughed once, quietly, without humor. "Of course he does not. Ryan thinks you are at some charity dinner tonight. He told me you were picking him up after midnight." Caleb's eyes returned to mine, and something like guilt moved through them. I was supposed to. The room suddenly felt smaller. I thought about Ryan, my best friend since freshman year, the person who shared his fries with me when I forgot lunch money, the person who trusted me with every embarrassing secret, every family complaint, every hopeful plan. Ryan had let me become part of his home. He had opened the door, and all that time, I had been quietly falling for the one person I had no right to want. Caleb seemed to read the thought before I could hide it. You are looking at me like I ruined something, he said. My face burned. Did you not? His expression changed, not angry, not defensive, but wounded in a careful, quiet way. I have been ruining things silently for years, Evan. The honesty in his voice took the air from my lungs. I looked down at my wrist, where the suppressant patch had started to peel at one corner. Caleb noticed immediately, but he did not step closer. Do you have another one? He asked. I shook my head. I thought I would only be here for an hour. Then we leave. That easy? I asked. You walk me out, drive me home, and tomorrow we both pretend we did not see anything? Caleb looked at me for a long moment. Is that what you want? I opened my mouth, but nothing came out, because the safe answer and the true answer were not the same. Then my phone buzzed in my pocket, sharp and sudden, making us both flinch. The screen glowed with Ryan's name. Under it was a message that made my stomach drop. Where are you? Caleb is not answering, and I am getting worried. I stared at Ryan's message until the letters blurred, each word heavier than the music still pulsing through the floor. Where are you? Caleb is not answering, and I am getting worried. It sounded so ordinary, so painfully Ryan, the kind of message he would send while pacing outside some late-night diner with his jacket half-zipped and his patience running thin. He had no idea that his brother was standing 10 feet away from me in a private lounge above a gay club, looking like a man caught between two lives. Caleb saw the screen before I could turn it face down. His shoulders lowered by a fraction, and for the first time that night, the calm around him did not feel powerful. It felt exhausted. I need to call him, I whispered. Caleb nodded, but his eyes did not leave my face. You should. That should have made it easier. It did not. My thumb hovered over the call button while guilt crawled up my throat. Ryan trusted me. He trusted Caleb even more. The two of us were the safest parts of his world, and somehow we had become the secret standing behind his back. I pressed call before I could lose courage. Ryan answered on the second ring. Evan, finally. Are you okay? His voice was bright with concern, not suspicion, and that made it worse. I am okay, I said, forcing my voice to stay steady. The place was loud. My phone was not getting good service. Caleb turned toward the window, giving me privacy he did not truly have. Are you still out with Mark? Ryan asked. I swallowed. Mark was my roommate. Mark was somewhere downstairs, probably laughing under the lights, completely unaware that my life had shifted sideways. Yes, I said. The lie was small, but it burned. I am leaving soon. Good. Caleb was supposed to pick me up from Nick's apartment, but he disappeared. That is not like him. My eyes moved to Caleb's back. He stood perfectly still, as if every word hit him somewhere quiet. Maybe his phone died, I said. Ryan sighed. Maybe. He has been weird lately. I thought it was work, but I do not know. Sometimes I feel like he is in the same room with us and still miles away. The truth sat between Caleb and me like a third person. I could not look at it directly. He probably just needs space, I said softly. Everyone does sometimes. Ryan went quiet for a second. You sound strange. My heart jumped. Caleb turned slightly. I am tired, I said. Too much noise. Too many people. That part, at least, was true. Ryan's voice softened at once. Then go home. Text me when you get there, okay? I promised I would, and ended the call before he could hear what I was hiding. The silence afterward felt worse than the music. Caleb faced me slowly. You lied for me. I lied for myself, I said, sharper than I meant to. Do not make it noble. He accepted that without flinching. I stood, needing distance, but the room tilted slightly as the suppressant patch peeled more under my sleeve. Caleb stepped forward, then stopped himself. That restraint hurt more than if he had reached for me. Evan, he said, quiet and careful. I knew. I looked up. Knew what? His gaze held mine, and the neon blue from the window made his gray eyes look almost silver. That you had feelings for me. My breath caught so hard it felt like a fall. Do not say that. I never used it against you. No, you just noticed and said nothing. Because you were Ryan's best friend. His voice roughened on the words. Because every time I came home and saw you sitting at our kitchen table, laughing with him, smelling like rain and clean laundry and nervous hope, I reminded myself that you were off limits. Not because I did not see you. Because I did. The room went utterly still around us. For years, I had thought my secret had lived safely inside me, folded small and invisible. But Caleb had seen it. Caleb had carried it too. And somehow, that made everything more dangerous than before. I wanted to be angry at Caleb because anger was easier than standing there with my heart exposed. But the truth had already changed shape between us. For years, I had treated my feelings like something shameful, something childish I could fold into silence whenever Ryan opened his front door and called me family. I had smiled through movie nights on the Brooks couch, while Caleb passed behind us with a glass of water. I had laughed at Ryan's jokes while pretending not to notice the way Caleb's scent settled in the room. Clean cedarwood after rain, steady enough to make my omega instincts go quiet. I thought I had hidden all of it. I thought wanting someone from a safe distance did not count as betrayal if nobody ever found out. But Caleb had known. How long? I asked, though part of me was afraid of the answer. His eyes lowered for the first time. Since Thanksgiving 2 years ago. My stomach twisted around the memory. Ryan's mother had insisted I stay for dinner because my parents were out of state. I had worn a borrowed sweater, helped set the table, and spent the whole evening trying not to look at Caleb across the dining room. You spilled cranberry sauce on your sleeve, Caleb said quietly, as if he was seeing it again. I brought you club soda. When our hands touched, your scent changed. Heat rose to my face. That is not fair. I know. You had no right to remember that. I know that too. His honesty should have made him smaller, but instead it made him painfully human. Not the perfect alpha Ryan described. Not the untouchable older brother who moved through life like every door had been built for him. Just Caleb, standing in a blue-lit room above a nightclub, looking tired of being admired for a version of himself that was not real. Why are you here tonight? I asked. His mouth tightened. The answer took time. Because my mother invited an omega named Claire to dinner tomorrow. The name meant nothing to me, but the way he said it made my chest ache. She thinks we would be a good match. I looked away. And would you? No. The word came too fast to be polite. She is kind. She deserves someone who can look at her honestly. Outside the window, rain threaded down the glass in silver lines. Downstairs, the music shifted into something slower, the bass becoming a heartbeat beneath our feet. Caleb took a breath and rubbed a hand over his face. It was such an unguarded gesture that I almost forgot to be careful. I came here because this is the only place in the city where nobody asks me to be the son they planned, he said. For a few hours, I can just stand in a room and not perform. My anger softened before I could stop it. And then I saw you. His gaze returned to mine. And then I saw you. The words were simple, but they pulled the air tight around us. My phone buzzed again, another message from Ryan lighting the screen against my palm. Caleb saw his brother's name and took one careful step back, as if the distance could protect us from what we had already done. You should go, he said. I can get you a ride. I stood too quickly, and the room swayed. The loose edge of my suppressant patch finally lifted from my wrist, useless now beneath my sleeve. Caleb moved by instinct, one hand reaching out, then stopping inches from my arm. He did not touch me. He waited. That restraint broke something in me more gently than pressure ever could. Do not make me choose while I am dizzy, I whispered. His face changed, soft with regret. I am not asking you to choose. Yes, you are, I said. Maybe not with words, but you are. Caleb looked like he wanted to deny it, but he only nodded. Then let me choose this much. I will walk you outside. I will make sure you get home safe. After that, nothing happens unless you say it does. I should have refused. Instead, I reached for his jacket when he offered it, letting the warm weight settle over my shoulders. The cedarwood scent wrapped around me, calm and impossible. Caleb opened the door, and the noise from below rushed back in. At the bottom of the stairs, near the club entrance, Ryan's name flashed across my screen for the third time. This time, it was not a text. It was a photo he had just sent from outside Blue Halo, with one message beneath it. Evan, why is Caleb's car parked here? The photo on my screen was slightly blurred from rain, but there was no mistaking the black Audi parked half a block from Blue Halo, its headlights off, its windshield shining under the streetlights. Caleb's car. Ryan knew that car better than he knew his own shoes. My fingers went cold around the phone. For one foolish second, I thought about pretending I had not seen the message, but the typing bubbles appeared immediately, 3 small dots pulsing like a countdown. Caleb leaned close enough to read the screen, and the color drained from his face in a way I had never seen before. Not fear of being caught by strangers. Not fear of gossip. This was his brother. This was Ryan, standing outside in the rain, about to find the two people he trusted. Most walking out of a place neither of us had ever admitted we belonged to. "I will go first," Caleb said. His voice was calm, but too calm, like glass held in both hands. "No," I said quickly. "If you go first, he will know you are hiding me." Caleb looked at me. "And if we go together?" I almost laughed, but there was no air for it. "Then he will know everything except the truth." Downstairs, the club kept moving as if our world had not narrowed to a phone screen and a staircase. People laughed near the entrance. A bartender called for someone to close a tab. Blue light swept across Caleb's face, turning him into someone unreal, someone caught halfway between the brother Ryan loved and the man I had seen above the crowd. My phone buzzed again. "Evan, are you inside?" I closed my eyes. The lie was available. It sat right there, easy and ugly. I could say no. I could say I was across town. I could tell Ryan I had no idea why Caleb's car was there. But then I imagined his face when he found out later, not from me, not from Caleb, but from some stranger's photo or careless rumor, and the thought made my chest hurt worse than panic. "I cannot keep lying to him," I whispered. Caleb's expression broke, just a little. "You should not have had to lie in the first place." The apology was quiet, but it carried years inside it. I typed with shaking hands. "I am inside. I am okay. Please stay where you are. I will come out." Ryan replied almost instantly. "With Caleb?" I looked at the message, then at Caleb. He did not look away. "Tell him yes," he said. "He deserves at least that much." So I did. Yes. For a few seconds, nothing came back. Those seconds felt longer than the whole night. Then Ryan sent one line. "I am by the alley entrance." The alley entrance. Not the front door. He already knew enough to avoid making a scene. That was Ryan, even wounded, still careful with other people's dignity. Somehow, that made the guilt sharper. Caleb opened the stairwell door and waited for me to move first. His jacket was still around my shoulders, warm from his body, filled with that steady cedarwood scent that made the hallway feel less impossible. I should have taken it off before Ryan saw. I knew I should, but my hands would not let it go. We walked down the back stairs without speaking. Each step carried us farther from the music and closer to the truth. By the time Caleb pushed open the metal door to the alley, rain swept in cold and clean, washing the club air from my lungs. Ryan stood under the weak yellow light near the brick wall, hood up, hands shoved into his jacket pockets. His eyes went first to Caleb, then to the jacket on my shoulders, then to my face. He did not yell. He did not accuse. He just looked at us like he had opened a familiar door and found a room he had never been allowed to enter. "Tell me," Ryan said, his voice quiet. "Which one of you was going to lie to me first?" Ryan's question hung in the rain between us, quiet enough that the city almost swallowed it, but sharp enough to cut through every excuse I had prepared. Behind him, headlights slid along the wet street and painted the alley in white for half a second before moving on. Caleb stood beside me, his hands open at his sides, saying nothing, and somehow his silence made him look younger than 27, like the perfect older brother costume had finally become too heavy to wear. I wanted him to speak first. I wanted him to fix it, because he was Caleb Brooks, and Caleb always knew how to fix things. But Ryan was not looking at him anymore. He was looking at me. "Evan," he said, and my name sounded different in his mouth, not angry yet, but bruised. "Tell me what this is." My throat tightened. I pulled Caleb's jacket closer without thinking, then immediately hated myself for it when Ryan's eyes dropped to the movement. "I was overwhelmed inside," I said. Caleb helped me. Ryan gave a small nod, like he had expected that answer and hated it anyway. "That explains the jacket. It does not explain why my brother lied about where he was. It does not explain why my best friend is standing with him outside a club at 1 a.m, looking like both of you just got caught stealing oxygen." Caleb flinched at that, almost invisible, but I saw it. Ryan saw it too. The rain made dark trails down his hood and clung to his lashes, but he did not wipe his face. He just stood there, waiting for us to decide how much more pain we were going to hand him. Caleb finally stepped forward. "This is not Evan's fault." Ryan laughed once, soft and empty. "That is a very older brother thing to say." "It is true. Then tell me your part." Caleb's jaw worked, but no words came. The alley felt colder. I could hear the muffled beat of blue halo behind the brick wall, steady and distant, like another life still going on without us. Caleb looked at his brother, and all the power he carried in every room seemed useless here. I come here sometimes, he said. Ryan's face changed, not with shock, but with the slow realization that the truth had been living beside him for years. Sometimes, he repeated. Caleb nodded. When I need to be somewhere nobody expects me to be anything. Ryan looked away, blinking hard. You could have told me. I know. No, you do not know. Ryan's voice cracked, then steadied. You let me talk about you like you were some finished statue. You let Mom plan your life at dinner while I made jokes, and you sat there pretending it did not hurt. Did you think I would hate you? Caleb looked stricken. No, then what did you think? Caleb's answer was barely louder than the ring. I thought if I said it out loud, everything would change. Ryan's eyes shifted to me. And you? That was the harder question. Caleb's secret was about who he was. Mine was about who I had wanted. I swallowed, feeling the useless suppressant patch peeling beneath my sleeve, feeling my heart beat against Caleb's scent wrapped around my shoulders. I have had feelings for him for a long time, I said. Ryan closed his eyes. The silence after that was the worst sound I had ever heard. How long? He asked. I could have softened it. I could have made it smaller. But I was tired of building lies out of mercy. Years, I whispered. Ryan opened his eyes again, and this time the hurt was plain. And you never told me. I was ashamed. Of liking him. Of liking your brother. His expression twisted like he understood and wished. He did not. Caleb started to say Ryan's name, but Ryan raised one hand, not harshly, just enough to stop him. I need a minute. He stepped back toward the mouth of the alley, rain shining on his shoulders. For one terrible moment, I thought he was leaving. Then he turned around and looked at us both, his voice quiet, tired, and more honest than either of us deserved. I am not angry because you are here. I am angry because I was outside your lives, and I did not even know there was a door. Ryan's words landed harder than any accusation could have. I am not angry because you are here. I am angry because I was outside your lives, and I did not even know there was a door. For a moment, none of us moved. Rain tapped against the metal fire escape above us, soft and endless, while the city kept breathing beyond the alley. A rideshare car rolled past the entrance, splashing water along the curb, and the cold mist touched my face like a warning to wake up. This was not a dream I could leave behind when the music ended. This was Ryan, my best friend, standing in front of me with his trust cracked open. Caleb looked at him like he had finally understood that silence could hurt as much as a lie. I wanted to tell you, Caleb said. Ryan's mouth tightened. That is what people say when they did not. Caleb accepted the hit without defending himself. You are right. That surprised Ryan enough to make him look up. Caleb took a careful breath. I was scared of becoming someone different in your eyes. I know that sounds unfair, because I never gave you the chance to decide for yourself. But every time I tried, I heard Dad talking about legacy, and Mom talking about the right match, and I saw you looking at me like I had already figured life out. I did not know how to tell you that I had not. Ryan's anger flickered, and underneath it was something softer, sadder. I never needed you to be perfect. Caleb's voice lowered. I know that now. No, Ryan said, shaking his head. You know it tonight because you got caught. The words were not cruel. They were true. Caleb looked away, and the blue light from the club sign brushed across his face like moonlight on glass. I pulled his jacket off my shoulders, suddenly unable to stand the symbol of it in Ryan's eyes. Caleb noticed, but did not reach for it. I held it folded against my chest and faced Ryan, even though every part of me wanted to disappear. I should have told you about my feelings, I said. Not because you own my honesty, but because you trusted me. You brought me into your family, and I kept a secret that lived right in the middle of it. Ryan stared at the wet pavement. Were you two meeting here? No, I said quickly. I did not know he would be here. Caleb answered at the same time. I did not know Evan was coming. Ryan looked between us, studying the timing of our voices, the surprise still sitting raw on both our faces. Some tightness in his shoulders eased, but only a little. So this is new, he said. I could have said yes and made it simple. Instead, I said, the night is new. The feelings are not. Ryan closed his eyes again, and I wished I could take the sentence back, not because it was false, but because it was too honest to land gently. Caleb stepped beside me, not close enough to claim me, just close enough to stand in the same truth. Nothing happened tonight that Evan did not choose, he said. Ryan opened his eyes. That is not my first question. Caleb went still. Ryan's voice became quiet. My first question is whether either of you were ever going to tell me if I had not found the car. The alley seemed to hold its breath. I looked at Caleb. Caleb looked at me. The answer sat between us, ugly because it was uncertain. Finally, I said, I do not know. Ryan nodded once. Like that hurt, but he respected it more than another polished lie. Then start there. He wiped rain from his cheek with the back of his hand and looked at Caleb. You are driving me home. Evan, you are coming too. Not because I approve. Because I am not standing in an alley while the two of you decide what truth costs. Caleb's car waited under the streetlight, sleek and silent. As we walked toward it, Ryan took the front passenger seat, and I sat alone in the back with Caleb's jacket on my lap. In the rearview mirror, Caleb's eyes met mine for 1 second before he started the engine. No one spoke as Blue Halo disappeared behind us, but I understood something with frightening clarity. The secret was over. The damage was just beginning. The drive away from Blue Halo felt longer than the 20 minutes between downtown and the Brooks house. Rain slipped across the windshield in silver streams, and the wipers moved with a steady rhythm that made the silence inside Caleb's car feel even heavier. Ryan sat in the front passenger seat with his arms folded, staring straight ahead as if the wet streets had answers hidden in the reflections of traffic lights. Caleb drove carefully, both hands on the wheel, his posture controlled, but I could see tension in the line of his shoulders. I sat in the back with his jacket on my lap, my fingers curled into the fabric, breathing through the faint cedarwood scent because my body still had not fully recovered from the club. Nobody spoke until we stopped at a red light, near a 24-hour pharmacy. Then Ryan said, Mom is expecting you at breakfast. Caleb did not answer right away. I know. Ryan looked at him. Claire will be there. My stomach tightened even though I had no claim, no right, no place in that sentence. Caleb's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror for half a second, then returned to the road. I am not going. Ryan gave a tired laugh. That is your plan? Skip breakfast and pretend the problem goes away. No, Caleb said. My plan is to tell them the truth. The car seemed to shrink around us. Even the rain sounded quieter. Ryan turned fully in his seat. Tomorrow. Yes. Because of tonight? Caleb's grip tightened on the wheel. Because of years. Tonight only made it impossible to keep lying. Ryan looked out the window again, his jaw working like he was holding back too many feelings at once. You understand they will not take it gently. I know. Dad will make it about reputation. Mom will cry and say she only wanted you to be happy while ignoring every chance you gave her to know what happy meant. Caleb inhaled slowly. I know that too. The honesty in his voice made my chest ache. He was not speaking like an alpha preparing for battle. He was speaking like a son preparing to disappoint people who had loved a version of him he could no longer survive being. Ryan was quiet for a long time. Then he said, softer, I can be mad at you and still stand beside you. Caleb's face changed so quickly, I almost looked away. Pain, relief, disbelief, all of it moved through him before he locked it down. Ryan, do not make it a speech, Ryan said, but his voice was uneven. I am still mad. I am mad at both of you. But I am not letting you walk into that house alone if you are finally going to be honest. The light turned green. Caleb did not move until the car behind us gave a short honk. He drove on, and for the first time that night, the silence was not empty. It was wounded, but alive. A few minutes later, Caleb pulled up outside my apartment building, a narrow brick place with a flickering porch light and wet leaves plastered along the steps. I reached for the door handle, desperate to escape before my feelings spilled into something I could not take back. Evan, Ryan said. I froze. He did not turn around. I need time. I know, I whispered. But I do not hate you. The words hit so gently that I almost broke under them. Caleb got out and opened my door, not because I needed help, but because manners were something he could still hold on to. Under the awning, with rain falling behind him, he took his jacket from my hands. Our fingers brushed for only a second. Safe. Small. Devastating. Nothing happens unless you say it does, he reminded me quietly. I nodded, but before I could answer, Ryan lowered the passenger window and looked at us both. Tomorrow morning, no more hiding, he said. Caleb met my eyes, and the promise in them terrified me more than the secret ever had. Morning came too bright for a night that had ended in secrets. I slept for less than 3 hours, waking again and again to the memory of rain on Caleb's windshield and Ryan's voice saying no more hiding. By 9 o'clock, my phone was already in my hand, his last message glowing. On the screen, "Come to the house. I want this," said once, with everyone in the room. I almost said no. The Brooks house had always felt safe to me, with its white porch, blue shutters, and the smell of coffee drifting through the kitchen every Sunday morning. It was where Ryan and I had studied for finals, where Mrs. Brooks packed leftovers for me because she said boys my age never ate enough, where Caleb had passed through doorways like sunlight I was not supposed to look at directly. Walking up those front steps now felt like entering a courtroom built from memories. Ryan opened the door before I knocked. He looked tired, his hair still damp from a shower, his expression guarded but not cold. "Thank you for coming," he said. That was all. It was enough to make my throat tighten. In the dining room, Caleb stood near the window in a dark sweater instead of a suit, his hands folded behind his back. His parents sat at the table with untouched coffee cups. Across from them was Claire, a graceful Omega with soft blonde hair and kind eyes, looking confused but not offended. She did not look like a villain. That made everything harder. Mrs. Brooks smiled when she saw me, then noticed the silence and let the smile fade. "Evan, honey, is everything all right?" Ryan closed the dining room door behind us. Caleb looked at me once, not asking for rescue, not asking for permission, only making sure I was steady. Then he faced his family. "I need to tell you the truth before this goes any further." His father frowned. "Caleb, if this is about breakfast, we can discuss scheduling later." "It is not about breakfast." Caleb's voice was quiet, but it held. "It is about the life you keep planning for me." Mrs. Brooks reached for her necklace. "What are you saying?" Caleb breathed in, and for the first time, I saw him choose himself in daylight. "I am not the son you think I am. I cannot marry Claire, and I will not pretend to want a future that makes everyone comfortable except me." The room went still. Claire lowered her eyes, not with shame, but with understanding. Mr. Brooks stared like the words had arrived in a language he refused to learn. "This is ridiculous," he said. "You are overwhelmed." Ryan stepped forward before Caleb could answer. "No, he is finally being honest." His father turned on him. "You knew?" Ryan's face tightened. "Not because he trusted me soon enough." The sentence landed softly, but Caleb flinched. Mrs. Brooks began to cry, one hand over her mouth. "Caleb, why would you keep this from us?" Caleb's eyes shone, but his voice did not break. "Because I thought your love had conditions I could not meet." No one spoke after that. Even Mr. Brooks looked away. Then Claire stood, smoothing her skirt with trembling hands. "For what it is worth," she said gently, "I would rather be disappointed by the truth than chosen through a lie." She left her napkin on the table and walked out with more dignity than anyone else in the room. I thought that would be the end of it, but Caleb turned toward me, and suddenly every eye followed. My heart pounded so hard I could hear it. "Evan has nothing to apologize for," he said. "Whatever happens next, I will not let him be treated like a scandal." Ryan looked at me, hurt still there, but beside it was something like permission to stop running. I stepped forward, voice shaking. I never wanted to take anything from this family. I only wanted to stop lying inside it. Caleb's hand found mine in the open space between us, careful, visible, waiting. This time, I chose to take it.